first mentor that came about at that moment in time. Because IBM's training program in those days, literally, from new hire to your first quota was 18 months.
Wow.
You spent 18 months learning to be a sales rep. And I had a horrible experience during that 18-month period where a client said to a rep that I was with, "Don't ever bring him back here again." And it was about the color of my skin, not whether or not I was affecting sales there. So IBM literally advanced my career by almost 5 years because the tradition was you would sell new accounts, then mid-sized accounts, and then large accounts. And lo and behold, I went from new hire trainee to large accounts like that. I'll never forget having recognized that I was never going to be the CEO of IBM. And I believed that if I was going to be a CEO, I had to get that job before I was 50 years old. And I was announced as the CEO 10 days before my 50th birthday. And I knew that I was going to have to run really, really hard to make sure that it wasn't one of those where they said, oh, they just did that because Jesse Jackson was in town and they needed to have an African American in a tech company and blah, 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 blah. But I woke up one morning and realized, my gosh, something is wrong here. This is a tech company that is not about technology, but is about distribution. They were more focused on how they distributed their products than what products they built. And so if you were to ask anyone in the company at that point, what is the centering point of your technology portfolio? They couldn't answer it. Yeah. And so it just so happened that the hot thing right there at that moment in time was security. And we had one of the hot young brands in Norton Antivirus. And I decided, okay, that's it. We're going to center our business around security, not antivirus, but security. And we're going to move from distributing any product that we can in a yellow box to really, really going deep in security. The transaction or discussion that occurred between the board was we're either all in or we're all out. And one guy raised his hand and says, I'm out, which meant the whole thing collapsed. And then I spent the balance of my time there, about 6 months, going from 300 people to 120 people, finding a soft landing for our customers. We had some of the most prestigious Global 1000 customers around the world. It was just incredible. And I did not want to walk away from either the team that was left or the customers that we had created. So we found a private equity, small tier 2, tier 3 private equity firm, and we put it in their hands. They merged it with one of their portfolio companies, and now the company's doing okay. I mean, they're not growing like we used to, but they're not struggling for cash either. There's something about this company that is iconic. And there's something about this company that reminds me of IBM circa early 1990s when Lou Gerstner came in to transform IBM. And I thought since I'd spent 6 years under the Gerstner regime, there was an opportunity for me to hopefully apply some of what I'd learned there to help Steve and the team transform the company. And so that's when I agreed to say yes. But I wanted to get enough time between my last stance on the board at Symantec and my first board meeting at Microsoft. Well, no one could have ever told me 46 years ago that this industry would have had the kind of impact it's had on our society. Not our country, but our society. And guess what? The rate and pace of technology change continues to accelerate. And so 15 years from now, we will be further along than we achieved in the last 46. I'm convinced of that.